We're talking distance wedges, and how do you deliver a distance wedge to be consistent and produce spin? So the best wedge players in the world launch wedges low and they have high spin, at least about 150 RPMs per yard. Now, a couple of key contributors to that. Number one, premium golf ball. Number two, clean grooves. But beyond that, it's all about how you deliver this golf club. So we've talked already about compressing shots, but when it comes to the short game, what we're trying to do is get a launch angle around or in the sub 30s. I've got a 60-degree wedge, so we can kind of get that spin loft up around 45 to 50 plus degrees so that you can create a nice amount of spin relative to the loft you're delivering. And so I've got a 60. What we're going to work on is definitely using a lot more rotation of the pivot. So a lot of the research that has been done shows that the better wedge players are using a lot more rotation so that they can manage their attack angle. They're also leaning the shaft with their wrist angles. Now, what's really interesting is when we start to talk about dynamic loft at impact is the best players are leaning the shaft 12 to 18 degrees with a wedge, and that's at least a grip length. Now, that's a lot. That feels like a lot. They're able to make sure they have a shallow attack angle by a rotary pivot and not creating a lot of wrist set in the backswing. So the great thing about using our K-Coach for this in the Smart Tiles is we can work on less wrist set in the backswing, a lot less radial deviation, feeling a lot more ulnar. So think of Steve Stricker. That allows us to regulate the attack angle. Then all we have to do on the downswing is add more flex and rotation of the pivot. You put those pieces together and now all of a sudden you've got that low launch, high spin. Now here's a shot I hit earlier. Obviously it's reading 14.3 on the flexion extension relationship. We're trying to keep that number down so that we can make sure that we get the shaft leaning forwards, delivering less loft. Obviously, rotation of pelvis didn't rotate enough there. So the attack angle was a little bit steeper here on the quad. It was around 8 degrees. But I did get the launch angle sub 30, which is what we want, and that often comes with a premium golf ball. Range balls, great for practicing, but when you play, you want a premium ball so that you can maximize your spin, and they're going to launch lower. Also, the grooves on the wedge, you want to make sure that you change those fairly consistently. If you don't, it's going to be harder to maximize that spin. Obviously, the backspin there, 8,600. So I'm probably hitting a shot that goes about 80 yards. So we're going to try and hit one here, and then we'll use the Smart Tiles to train it. So got a regular premium ball here. I'm set up. So now I've got the ball a little bit back to allow for that descending angle of attack. On the way back, I'm trying not to have much wrist set, and I'm really trying to feel like I'm rotating on the way down. And I've got that club shaft trailing because I'm using my lead wrist to really flex as I'm coming through to take that loft off. So here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and set up and we'll hit one. So club's going to come back. So there we've hit a shot where the ball has launched 24 degrees. So it came out really, really low, but that's essential. We're trying to get that low launch to get high spin. The opposite of a driver, which is high launch, low spin. But down here with these wedges, really trying to make sure we deliver less loft so that we can get the launch angle where we need it. I rotated the pelvis a little bit more there, and my wrist flexion was down. So what we're going to try and train is we're going to work a little bit on more pelvic rotation there. That's going to help me shallow it out. That's going to make me able to work a little bit more flexed on the ball. So we're going to change that Smart Tile up here, and we're going to get it to where it is set for a little bit more rotation. So I'm really going to try and get this open, so I get my body open, so now not much set in the backswing, so I can get that launch down. A lot of times here we put a rope across so that we can get people the visual of that low launch, which is controlled by the wrist angles and the rotation. So let's try one more here. Got the rotation. Higher launch, more rotation. Perfect. So now you can see that I've rotated, not quite enough, but I got the shaft leaning and I got the spin number up. So that was a little bit shallower delivery. I rotated more. I'd like to see that a little higher, but remember, you're not loading as much. There's not as much energy with these shots. Trying to keep it probably 7 or 8 out of 10 so that you can be consistent. The range of rotation and how hard you turn is really going to be indicative of your distance control. That's one of the things that's going to allow you to hit it further. So if I'm not going on a full shot, may not turn quite as much. So we're going to try one more here. We'll put a ball down and I'm really going to work on that rotary feel now, trying to lean that shaft. So I'm way more pivot rotating, shaft leaning so that I can get that lower launch and get that shallower delivery. All right, so this one here, I definitely got more of the rotation, a little bit more compression, a little bit more thud here. And you can see I'm outside my range that I'd set, but I've got the launch angle was up fractionally, but got a little bit more spin. I rotated more. So I got the sub 30 launch we're looking for, but I got a little bit better with the delivery, and now I got the spin loft better, so I got a better spin number, which is great. So the more we can get that spin up, the better players are getting those up in the 10,000. They're really nice wedge players. But you saw how low that ball came out. Not much peak above probably 35 to maybe 50 feet. That's important for being very durable in a variety of conditions. So you can use the smart tiles to train that, to really be aware of these wrist angles that are necessary to deliver less dynamic loft so that you can get the ball on the face, launching nice and low but producing lots and lots of spin, which gives you more control day in, day out and allow you to be a great wedge player.